On May 10, 2022, multi-band satellite radiometric scans of the Moxihatetea maloca site registered a total cessation of heat. The telemetry showed zero thermal activity. This loss of heat signatures triggered public health emergency protocols, indicating potential forced displacement or a catastrophic epidemiological event. Investigating this anomaly on the ground presents an isolation paradox. Any physical entry into the territory guarantees the introduction of foreign pathogens to a population with no immunological resistance. Because of this dense shared roof architecture, a respiratory virus with a transmission rate exceeding 3.5 would spread through the community without the possibility of quarantine. Models project a mortality rate between 60% and 80% within 21 days of initial contact. With physical intervention acting as a lethal vector, the survival of these uncontacted groups now relies entirely on remote orbital telemetry. The driver behind this displacement is the expansion of illegal gold mining, known as garimpo, which carves industrial scars through the primary canopy. Legally, a 50-kilometer exclusion zone is supposed to shield the Moxihatetea from such incursions. In practice, intruding miners contaminate the watershed, introducing heavy metals that bioaccumulate in the food supply. These mining camps also introduce a spike in vector-borne pathogens, accelerating the spread of disease across the territory. The sovereign buffer has become an active epidemiological front line. This chart tracks exponential land conversion from 2012 to 2022 across 3 major Brazilian Amazon indigenous reserves. Mining increased by 622% in Kayapó and over 2,200% in Munduruku. Within Yanomami territory, the increase reached 73,274%. Forensic monitoring by map documents the total destruction of over 19,000 hectares inside the Yanomami reserve. 93% of this destruction occurred in just 5 years, between 2019 and 2023. This speed is maintained through clandestine airstrips cut directly into the forest, allowing logistical aircraft to bypass ground-level checkpoints. The data reveals an industrialized spatial invasion rather than scattered artisanal activity. Orbital telemetry allows researchers to reconstruct the demographics of the Moxihatetea without breaching the forest canopy. Satellites detect a maloca with an external diameter of 54.8 meters, surrounding an 812 square meter courtyard. Between 1 and 4 UTC, sensors measure the structure's nocturnal thermal variance, maintaining temperatures 7.4 to 12.1 degrees Celsius above the surrounding canopy. This thermal output represents a radiant flux density of up to 820 watts per square meter, corresponding to approximately 17 active hearth fires. Using a ratio of 5.2 inhabitants per hearth, researchers calculate a resident population of 80 to 125 individuals. These precise thermal metrics transform an abstract land dispute into a trackable human rights emergency. High-pressure dredging terraforms the landscape, leaving behind massive pools of stagnant water. Bayesian models correlate these pools to explosive Anopheles mosquito breeding and the formation of malaria transmission corridors. This biological threat is compounded by the use of mercury to extract gold particles from the river sediment. In the October 2022 Moxihatetea River dataset, mercury was detected in 100% of the human samples tested. Mercury levels ranged from 0.16 to 10.20 micrograms per gram, with an average of 3.79. Only 3 participants had levels below the 1.0 microgram safety threshold. Children ages 2 to 4 were consuming mercury at levels up to 31 times higher than the recommended maximum. The intersection of malaria spikes and mercury-driven immunological suppression establishes a biochemical mechanism for demographic collapse. Acoustic attenuation is the final physical barrier protecting the isolated group. Under a dense canopy, the 95 decibel output of heavy diesel engines only drops below human perception at distances greater than 11.8 kilometers. Telemetry now confirms an illegal mining airstrip operating at exactly 9.4 kilometers away. Based on this spatial modeling, auditory and visual contact is mathematically imminent, representing a total breach of the isolation mandate. Trapping metallic infrastructure requires sensors capable of penetrating the unbroken primary forest canopy. L-band microwave arrays use a 23.5 centimeter wavelength that passes through organic foliage but scatters off metallic dredges hidden on the river floor. In mid-2024, satellites detected localized radar interference blocking scans over a 2-kilometer radius. Analysts suspect the deployment of ground-based signal emitters, or metallic shielding, designed to blind orbital telemetry. Deploying this equipment requires the high capital logistics used by Brazil's major criminal syndicates. Federal prosecutors identify the Red Command and the PCC as the primary financiers for these industrialized mining fronts, where individual dredges can cost 15 million reals. Territorial defense now faces an active electronic warfare scenario designed to blind state orbital sensors. Analysts have modeled the ultimate failure state, catastrophic edge case A. The kinetic conflict trigger point occurs when an armed mining breach reaches within 2 kilometers of the maloca. Model projections indicate a high probability of violent, lethal defense by the Moxihatetea using traditional weaponry, followed by retaliatory armed clearing using automatic firearms, resulting in total demographic collapse of the subgroup. The survival of the world's last uncontacted biosphere reserves is now a function of acoustic attenuation buffers and orbital physics fighting an illicit extraction network. End of analysis.